You've probably seen it a million times, right? A cat takes a tumble, and for a split second, it's just a blur of fur. But then, almost like magic, they twist in midair and land perfectly on their paws. It's this incredible gravity-defying stunt that has fascinated people for, well, forever. It almost feels like they're breaking the laws of physics.
But here's the thing, it isn't magic. It's actually something way cooler. It's a perfect blend of biology and physics. A great way to think about it is that your cat is this little fluffy biological gyroscope. It's a high-tech navigational device that instinctively knows how to orient itself no matter how chaotic the fall is. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and look at the amazing hardware cats are working with. We're going to dive into the unseen machinery that gives them this incredible ability. These are the biological super tools that make it all happen.
So it all starts deep inside the cat's ear with something called the vestibular system. Now, the best way to picture this is like an inner water level. Imagine these tiny, fluid-filled canals with little microscopic crystals floating inside. Anytime the cat's head moves or tilts, that fluid sloshes around, and bam, it sends an instant signal to the brain telling it exactly which way is down. It's basically a hardwired compass.
But that inner ear compass doesn't work alone. Oh no, it's teamed up with something called proprioception. It's a fancy word, but it just means the body's unconscious sense of where it is. And for cats, the superstars here are the paws. They're not just for walking. They are packed with high-precision sensors, constantly feeding the brain information about the ground below. They're like a built-in GPS and a set of shock absorbers, all rolled into one.
All right, so we've got the biological hardware down. Now for the main event. The part that has puzzled scientists for ages: how does a cat actually manage to flip itself over in midair? Because, on the surface, it looks like it completely violates a fundamental law of physics. And that law is the conservation of angular momentum. Basically, physics says you can't just start spinning out of thin air. You can think of it like a bank account for rotation. To rotate one way, you have to create an equal and opposite rotation somewhere else to keep the balance at zero. So, how in the world do cats do it? Now, a lot of people think it's all about the tail, that it acts like a little propeller or a rudder, but the science shows us that's not quite right. A cat's tail is way too light to turn its whole body. It helps with some fine-tuning for sure, but it's not the main engine. The real secret weapon, the true genius behind the whole operation, is the cat's incredibly flexible spine. And this is where it all comes together in the famous riding reflex. First, the cat bends in the middle, basically turning itself into two separate body halves. Then, and this is the brilliant part, it tucks its front legs in, just like a figure skater pulling in their arms to spin faster. This lets the front half of the cat twist around super quickly. To keep the laws of physics happy, its back half, with legs out, rotates more slowly in the opposite direction. And just like that, the angular momentum is conserved. Once the front is facing down, the back half just snaps into alignment, and the cat is all set for a perfect landing. It's genius. So this system is an absolute marvel of evolution. It's incredible, but it's not foolproof. What happens when that perfectly tuned inner compass gets thrown off? Well, that can lead to something called Vestibular Syndrome. For a cat experiencing this, it must feel like the entire world has been turned sideways. They might suddenly stumble around, walk in circles, or hold their head in a really sharp, persistent tilt. You might even see their eyes darting back and forth uncontrollably. Just try to imagine the worst case of seasickness you can think of, but it never stops. That's what it's like for them, which explains why they often feel nauseous and don't want to eat. Now, here's something that is so important for every cat owner to hear. It's really easy to see these symptoms in an older cat and just write it off as old age, but that is often not the case at all. A lot of the time, the real culprit is a totally treatable middle ear infection. You see, some inflammation or a little benign growth can put pressure on that delicate balance organ and throw the whole system into complete chaos. And this isn't just a theory. Let's talk about a real cat named Kiki. She was a 12-year-old Maine Coon who suddenly developed a bad head tilt and couldn't keep her balance. But her owners didn't just assume it was old age. They took her in, and a CT scan found the problem: fluid and a polyp in her middle ear. After a simple surgery to fix it, Kiki slowly but surely got her balance and her confidence right back. It's just a perfect example of why getting a real diagnosis is so critical. And this brings us to a really powerful quote from Kiki's vet, Jamila Meshichvelich, who said, "Age is not a disease." I think that's something we should all remember. Symptoms like these are a sign that something is wrong, and they should always be checked out by a vet. So, knowing all this, the amazing biology, the clever physics, and the things that can go wrong, how can we use this to be better guardians for our own little feline acrobats? Especially as they get older and their incredible systems might start to slow down a bit.
Well, it really boils down to being proactive. If your cat is getting a little older or seems a bit wobbly, you can help them out. Little things make a huge difference. Put in some ramps so they can still get to their favorite sunny spot. Throw down some rugs on slippery floors so they have better grip. Block off dangerous spots like the stovetop. And probably most important of all, keep an eye on their ears. If you see a lot of scratching or notice any discharge, get it checked out. Treating an ear infection early can prevent a whole balance crisis down the road.
So, we started with what seemed like magic, right? A myth. But when you peel back the layers, you find something even more amazing. This beautiful, intricate system of biology and physics working together perfectly. And maybe that's the real magic, that by understanding how it all works, we can turn our fascination into better care and become even better guardians for these amazing, gravity-defying friends of ours.
And of course, all the science and stories we talked about today come from some fantastic sources, including veterinary journals and animal health publications, which you can see listed here.